Elizabeth Debicki, look, we love Elizabeth Debicki, good actress.
Fantastic.
But it is very evident in this film
She was
that
also filming
she
The
was
Crown.
deep in filming The Crown. And they phoned her and said, we need you to film 2 days of shooting.
She went, oh, God.
Yeah.
What a ball.
And, okay, I know she's playing another high royal, but honestly, every scene that she's did about 3 scenes, it's just Diana. It's just Diana. It's like,
Close your eyes.
Yeah. And they're like, you know, where are the Guardians now? I think they're actually over on Xandar. Particularly, it's terribly sad. I've got Adam Warlock here and he's going to go and blow you up. And I'm like, it's so distracting.
So I realised over the weekend that I only have one reference to a king's coronation,
Right.
which is
Johnny English.
Johnny English.
Of course.
Of course.
There's
And the
no-
whole time, in my head, I just had, for Scotland, I do. For Wales, I do. For England, I do not.
How random is it that John Malkovich is
So weird.
is the Pascal Sauvage?
In one of his most transformative roles, where
Yeah.
he does like the most, it's still very John Malkovich,
but it's the
like
least John Malkovich.
John Malkovich.
Yeah. That's
Full
a
foot
really.
Jackson.
I wonder if that's known outside of the UK.
I
that
don't know
much.
it does.
That was a. I mean, I know
But
they
it
made
is.
2
Three.
sequels.
It's been 3.
Yeah, but the 2 sequels.
Oh, sorry, yes, yeah.
But that first one was a staple. You know, sleepovers.
You know, we talked about A Knight's Tale being a film that was often played at school on the last day of
Yeah.
term. I think Johnny English also is in that
totally.
category
Yeah.
of safe film that you could watch it a number of times
Yep.
and enjoy it again.
He's charismatic with an automatic. That's Robbie Williams. Singing
Watch
the theme
out
tune.
for the man for all
Yeah.
seasons.
And it's great. And it's got that visual comedy he can't find in The Office at the beginning. He's just
You are
walking through
now
by
entering
6.
the most secure location in the whole of England. He's so good.
He's
He
fantastic.
is so good.
The whole building switch where he gets the hospital and the
amazing.
Yeah, it's
when he's holding up everyone and
Yeah.
he just sees him. Amazing.
Oh yeah, and that whole coronation. You're right. Is the only modern thing.
And I like that TikTok, you know, the center point for culture across the world was full of Johnny English memes. It was intercutting the crown going on King Charles and then Rowan Atkinson smashing underneath him. Arrest that man! And it was pointing at Prince Andrew, which we're not going to
It's
He's like, arrest that man and lock him away. Terrible.
It's Natalie Imbruglia is in that, which I always forget.
The sort of spy love interest.
Yeah, and
Doesn't done much more acting.
acting.
after
No,
that,
I haven't done anything. Has she done much more
I
music?
couldn't
I
name
assume so.
No,
you
I
couldn't
don't.
name me what?
Another film that Natalie Imbruglia.
Could
has
you
done.
name me more than one Natalie Imbruglia song?
That's
Is
it.
it just Torn?
Torn.
Yeah, I know. Great
which
song.
is a cover.
No.
Yes, Torn is a cover.
Who by? Who's
I don't
originally-
know, but
Oh,
I found out that it's
whoa.
also Torn is a cover, which broke a lot of people's hearts. Yeah.
Whoa, this is just
all out of faith.
great song.
This is how I'm feeling.
on.
I'm cold and I am chained. I'm just going to sing while George gets the...
Wow, yeah, Torn was written in 1991 by Scott Cutler and Anne Previn.
I hope they got a good...
Hang
Oh,
on.
go on.
Technicality, though. Only on a technicality. Because it says here, according to Wikipedia, the source of all information that is accurate,
correct
obviously.
information.
Yes. It says here that it was written in 1991, and the band, it's a Norwegian band, I want to say here. They performed it live, but they did not initially release a recording.
Whoa, I bet they're fucking...
But they
regretting
recorded.
that.
But then they released a recording. Okay, hang on. Let me get this. It was supposed to. Okay, so it's Danish. Torn is a song. Let me get from the top. Torn is a song by Scott Cutler, Anne Previn, and Phil Thalany. It was first recorded in 1993, then in 1994, and in 1996. Okay, so actually they did put it down on
shopped
disc.
around.
But then Torn is best known as by Australian singer Natalie Imbruglia. Her version was produced by Thornline and peaked at number 1 in Belgium, Canada, Denmark, Iceland, Spain, and Sweden.
That's what I'm wondering. It's like, does she make enough money from that song that she can just kind of keep her trotters up and chill?
Keep her trotters up. I've never heard that phrase. That sounds quite insulting.
Yeah.
You sound like a pig.
Yeah.
Hey, let me see what else she's been doing recently.
Might be an Animal Farm reference.
Natalie Imbruglia.
Natalie
Right.
Imbruglia.
So she's.
Do you know what I mean? How much does like, I know I saw one of the biggest royalty songs ever is Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas. I'm sure that makes her 10 million quid a year.
£10 million a year.
I think it makes her 10
in
million,
royalties.
Yeah, pounds
Mariah
a year.
that keeps
Mariah
it going.
Carey. All I Want for Christmas is You. Considering the number of
Films,
times that
so.
gets looped, the number of films, I'm sure she's got an amazing fee to put that in.
As long as she had a good deal to start with.
Yeah.
As long as it's not all going to the producer.
I wouldn't be surprised if she makes 8 figures a year.
Hey, Mariah, gonna baby like, I'm gonna pass the fire. That's from Fantasy, but the ODB version,
Right.
Is a jump, let me see you do. The old dirty bastard.
Yeah.
He comes in and he does a version of it, which is oh baby come on, oh when you walk by every night. I leaned away from the microphone.
Yeah.
So I didn't.
Apologies for George screaming into the mic the last episode. I do my best to bring him down.
Anyway,
I don't wanna halt
that was
his
Johnny English. And he climbs up the sewer pipes. Remember that?
Yes. Oh, for God's sake, Boff, it's just a bit of poo.
It's so stupid. Funny though. Good British comedy. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Anyway, welcome to episode 75
Wow.
of Pulp Kitchen. We've made our
This
quarter
would
quell.
be this. Yeah, this is our quarter quell. This would be our. I don't know. This feels like it's deserving of a jubilee in and of itself.
Yes. I told you I
Pulp Kitchen
rewatched
Jubilee.
the first Hunger Games accidentally, but sort of not intentionally.
Yes.
But I didn't plan to go and watch it. I was stuck on I had to get a coach home from Southampton after a shoot that got cancelled. So it was like a nothing day. So I went all the way to there. And then there was a big problem with the rail. So I had to get a coach, which was like 2 hours, and it was marathon day. And me and my friend who I was working with, we were like on the coach, and we were like, we have to watch something, like just scrolling through Netflix, like what film is the right amount of entertaining and engaging, like it's a concept film. Yeah. But I don't want to watch something for the first time because I'm on a coach. I'm tired. I'm not really going to be concentrating hugely, but I can dip in and out as and when.
Plane movie. You need a plane movie.
A plane movie. And we watched the first Hunger Games. And it's good.
Yeah.
It is a good film.
Yeah.
I found there were elements of the writing and actually the editing that I was like, ooh, that's... Even like barely paying attention, I was like, that doesn't edit together quite right. Because like I also edit video. I was like, that edit made that line delivery sound really weird and out of place.
Interesting.
It's kind of, I could point it out to you, but I can't really explain why.
That's fine.
But other than that, as was true with a lot of Hunger Games stuff, I found the first half way more interesting
Than the actual Hunger Games.
than the actual Hunger Games.
Oh.
So the first Hunger Games especially, it's a lot of hiding in trees and painting your sort of face into a rock. I'm like, was this really the most engaging way we could have done?
Yeah.
Like an all-out battle royale to the death. But anyway, it's very engaging. I do think Catching Fire, not that I've rewatched it, is probably the strongest of the
Yeah,
films.
I know we've mentioned that before. Then it goes off on one, and then they're bringing it back later this year.
And someone wrote in, was like, oh, please rewatch them, please give them another go.
Yeah.
Because there's more merit to them.
I will
than-
rewatch the first two, and I will be open to seeing the new one for content.
I never finished Mockingjay Part 2. I just never finished it. I stopped. I was like, I don't care, and this is a bad movie.
Yeah.
But guys, today we're going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Yeah. It is out this week. We're going to be talking about it in this episode in a spoiler-free context.
Absolutely.
So this is all fine for people who have not yet seen the film. But if you are wanting to talk about in-depth plot details, fear not, because later in the week we will be posting our spoiler thoughts. Just because I think we want to talk about some in-depth plot
Particularly
things.
because the way this film is constructed is very much sort of being like a final chapter or
Yes,
a
it's a
concluding chapter of this particular
really
arc.
did feel like that. There's a lot of sort of
So
last day of school vibes. And so you obviously, feel free to go back to that. Podcast episodes are not like egg salad. They don't go off. It will remain there forever.
Hopefully they're like wine.
Yes,
they age
fine
beautifully.
wine. So hopefully, because sometimes people listen to these things 3 times. So yeah, whenever you're ready to go, please go to our spoiler-filled discussion. But yeah, should we get on with
I think we should crack on.
the show? So George, on Friday night, we saw a film together.
We did. It was nice. We actually went socially.
Yeah.
Went out for pizza with our respective other halves. And we went to the lovely Picture House Central,
Very nice.
which I've only been to once before. You guys have never been.
No.
But I was aware that it's a very nice venue.
Big for the location. It was a large.
It's a very
establishment.
large venue and peaceful. Like there's a big bar upstairs where you can relax without feeling like central
I'd
London.
happily work there and do emails in a day court in London. It
Really
was very
nice space. And I knew this because I went to see Monos. Have I ever talked about Monos?
No.
Oh, Monos
Sounds
is
Greek.
No, it's Colombian, I want to say.
Okay.
It's a Colombian film that I saw in 2019. Fantastic film.
Yeah.
And it was the sound, I remember in the Picture House Central being like really good. And sure enough, when we went to Guardians, the sound was really good.
You mentioned it, and it's a really sort of finely dialed in surround experience, which I know all cinemas kind of have a version of, but I really felt it when explosion happened behind camera. I was like, oh, that's behind
Yeah, that's it,
exploded behind my ear.
But yeah, we did. We went and we got overpriced posh.
I really went to the snacks.
Yeah,
it was like
did.
an event. I'm with some friends. It's a big popcorn kind of film.
What was the ice cream in a gelatin
Mochis.
thing? Mochi. They had
delicious.
mochis
there. If you know mochi, you know what it is. But yeah, I got the other half got some candy kittens.
You
It's not
love
sponsored.
those.
I
You
do.
actually,
Oh,
I've seen
God.
you go through them.
I
Like,
go to town. You and George have been at events where we're sort of invited, and they're like free candy kittens, and I've taken more than my allocated share of candy kittens. I've stolen off other people's tables candy kittens.
something happens. It's like a shark. Your eyes roll back,
Yeah.
and you get the scent of candy kittens, and you're like, and I'm looking at you. No, James, please.
This is not sponsored, but candy kittens, feel free to get in touch. I would love a delivery. I mean, it would kill me, but just a delivery of candy kittens and some Maltesers. So really, I just went all out. I was like, I've already had a massive pizza. But yeah, so we watched Guardians 3, and when the Marvel does the logo with it's got the little like sort of letters with little clips of the thing, and I realized, God, you know what? Guardians is its own series. It's old. First one came out 2014.
That's right, yeah.
And it's almost like, as the Marvel years have gone on and the films have evolved, we've got these mini franchises within our franchises. The black hole Red Dwarf of Marvel is so big, it has its own revolving solar systems within it. And I was thinking, God, I was sort of 18, 19 when the first Guardian films came out. And
I think you were, 20 actually, because you were born in 1994, just to do some math.
Whatever,
that's fine.
Long time ago. And I was like, God, yeah, the Marvel universe ever goes on. But this is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, and it's the first one we've had after the sort of, I don't know what, someone just dropped a load of scaffolding outside. It's the first Guardians film we've had, not counting Thor: Love and Thunder, where we sort of post Endgame.
Yes,
we've had this sort of big hard stop of a story, and I think like there is this sort of question as to where does everyone go on? How do we react from that? In this film, we have Peter Quill, played by the wonderful Chris Pratt, who is very much sort of, as we remember from the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, in a little bit of a rut. He's a little bit depressed. Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana, is not the version of Gamora that we all, and Peter Quill, fell in love with. If you watched Avengers Endgame, you will know, and I assume you kind of know the homework, that because of a time heist that took place, Gamora was killed so that Thanos could get the Soul Stone. They had to go back in time to undo the work of Thanos, bringing back a version of Gamora that does not know the Guardians, that is not in love with Peter Quill. And that's sort of where she's at. And she's sort of her angry daughter of Thanos, not really empathetic or caring the world version of herself. And Peter Quill is kind of like, you're kind of an arsehole. We've got Pom Clementif and playing Mantis and Dave Bautista playing Drax, who are as completely unself-conscious. They do not. They have no empathy. And no sense of self-awareness.
Well, actually, no. I mean, Mantis is nothing but empathy.
That's true. Yes, nothing but empathy.
But Drax is completely.
But with like, she's so empathetic to the point where she actually like isn't able to read certain situations. That's right. And they're just a great comedic presence. And what is a lot of this, we got obviously Vin Diesel returning as Iron Groot.
Or Groot is his
Groot.
It's not his full name. Please, but you can call me Mr. Groot.
But if you asked him his name, he would say, I am Groot.
Please, I am Groot was my father.
You can call me Mr. Groot. And what this film really focuses on is Bradley Cooper's Rocket. And it very much serves as an Sirens Are on Our End. Very much serves as an origin story for Rocket, which had been hinted at in earlier films.
Yes.
He had said lines like, they ripped me apart and put me back together, I think in the first Guardians film.
He gets angry.
And I know in the comics that people have said that that's been really explored and it's a really great character arc. And what has happened is we open the film and they're hanging out in Nowhere, which is kind of like their little safe space, a sort of micro community.
On that point as well, Nowhere, which is that ancient dead head of a celestial being that was where the Collector lived, was in the first Guardians, right? I don't remember them moving to Nowhere. I remember them being there on Guardians.
It's nice
holiday
now,
special, but they were just like, "Oh, this is Nowhere." I was like, "Oh, that place from before. You've all moved there."
Is that the same place where Thanos killed the Collector in front of?
Yes, he didn't actually kill him, but he.
Oh yes,
but that is exactly that place, Tivan, and also just quickly, no mention of Thor at all. Isn't it? Do you find it funny? And I think that we'll talk about this, but it's a bit like James Gunn being like, "That's great, I'm doing Guardians."
Yes, this is my thing.
Yeah,
please.
not the whole rest of the MCU.
And speaking of James Gunn, it is his last hurrah in Marvel before he crosses the picket line.
Yes,
well, not picket line, the country borders.
The switches sides
to go and front and fix. Let's be honest, the entire slate of DC. So that's an interesting one. He was also, of course, mini cancelled and then uncancelled and brought back for this, much to the cast's delight. But we've got this origin story of Rocket Raccoon, and we start with a scene where Adam Warlock, played by Will Poulter, Mr. Eyebrows, comes storming into nowhere for reasons.
Yes. No, we'll get back to Adam. I mean, that's a slight disservice to Will Poulter. We love him.
I love Will Poulter.
Yeah. Sorry.
And
comes storming in.
You seen Son of Rambo? What a film.
Yeah.
Amazing. Comes storming in, and for reasons we're not quite sure of, and attacks the Guardians and activates this kill switch within Rocket. And they realise that part of the sort of cyborg-esque features of Rocket Raccoon has a kill switch within him. And they're sort of desperate to try and figure out how they can stop this kill switch from taking place.
Well, exactly, yeah. So in this sort of skirmish that they quickly have, he's injured, and they run a scan, and it's like this thing on his heart. They can't fix him. He's injured, and they can't fix him because he has this thing. So they realize that they need to trace his history, his origin.
Find out who he is. They've got this like medical belt, which is almost like a cure-all for things. But if you've got like
if you happen to have a pacemaker like he does,
you're screwed. Yeah, it's kind of like a really awful pacemaker that he's got, an old school one that runs on coal. And sort of there goes on this quest to learn more about Rocket Raccoon. So much of the Guardians has been about trying to find out who you are, your family, mothers, fathers, what you fight for, who you fight for, what that means to you. And there we go on and have Guardians 3. George, straight in, your impressions of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah, so this film really surprised me. Yeah. Because going in, I had kind of mixed feelings. Because on the one hand, I love the Guardians. Yeah. Guardians 1 is my favourite Marvel film. I've seen it plenty of times. It still holds up. I've had a lot of fun with it.
And it really sort of, we've mentioned this before, I think until Guardians 1, I don't think we take credit for it taking, apart from Asgard, which I really kind of count separately to this kooky, quirky, Marvel, planetary, space hopping. That was the first one to really lift the Marvel Cinematic Universe off planet Earth. We have this new visual language for how our planets and our characters and our aliens look, and it was its own brand of humour, which I think very much informed the rest of the MCU.
The rest of the brand identity of the MCU, I think, owes, now you can see it 9 years later, was so much influenced by
There's no Taika Waititi doing Ragnarok without Guardians happening first. Yeah.
So that's interesting. And so going into this thinking, well, I love Guardians 1, but 9 years ago, that's why. But there are points in this film which it's the first time in a Marvel film that I've felt nostalgic for earlier Marvel. This franchise, this behemoth, has gone on for so long now that we're getting to the point that we're nostalgic for an earlier point of the same universe.
Crazy?
That is crazy. So I went in with that. I didn't enjoy Guardians 2 as much. I don't think it's bad, but I find it a bit annoying. But there's something about, like, the first one was so charming, and the second one was a little bit, like, smarmy, a little bit, like, swaggery. Like, oh my God, we did so well with Guardians. Why are we going to do this? I didn't like the fact that most of it just took place on one planet, on Ego, and I that just wasn't fun. And then, of course, you get Infinity War and Endgame, and it's great to have them in that. And obviously, like, Rocket plays an important role in Endgame.
I also think at that point in the MCU, I had itchy feet. I was like, can we just get to Infinity War now? Come on, let's just let's get everyone, let's line our ducks in a row and go.
Yeah. How are the ducks? Thank you. And then, obviously Endgame finishes, and then Guardians turn up in Thor, but very that whole film doesn't cash on that
footnote on the contract of the Guardians.
And then Guardians Holiday Special, which is fine, but again felt a bit like meaningless.
Yes.
And then we approached Guardians 3. So I think he mixed. I'm like, okay, how am I gonna? How is this going to operate?
And I'm sorry, let's be honest. The recent Marvel outings have been poor.
Exactly.
I've not agreed with. MCU is. And sorry, on a completely separate note, I read an article where Elizabeth Olsen said that the writers of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness had not seen the script for WandaVision before they wrote it.
Wow.
Which makes so much sense. How could you, of course they didn't. Anyway.
But anyway, so we go to see it, and also I'm thinking as well, this is 6 years since the last solo Guardians thing, and the 9 years since things. This film really surprised me, though, because I have to say, it completely won me over.
Yeah.
I found that the longer it went on, the more I enjoyed it.
Okay.
And honestly, I can say now, it's the most enjoyable Marvel experience I've had since Endgame, and I would probably put it in my top 5 Marvel films of the whole series.
Right, okay.
For reasons that we will discuss.
Yes.
I thought it just had such a good, massive, big heart. It's so heartfelt. It really understands that whole story with with Rocket, using that.
Heartbreaking.
It just emotionally grounds and anchors the story in a way that you're completely involved. It begins with a sort of almost Paddington-esque CGI use of young raccoon's eyes. And it just involves you. And that whole through line I thought was just really, really well done. And there are bits in it to do with family and the way, we'll talk about this in the spoiler chat, but the way this whole film concludes, I loved the way it ended, with every single character, the way it wrapped up, and everything was done so well that it is that kind of like emotional heartfeltness. But what I also really liked was that it became immediately apparent that James Gunn has, and always has had, a very, very clear grasp on who these characters are, what they need to do, the emotional dynamics of it, the personality of this universe, and the identity of this particular franchise of characters.
It was my favourite way seeing those characters interact. They all felt really well realised, and they all had a great comedic presence and story. All of them were used very well.
There was never, except for one thing, which I'll get to later, but there was never a time where I felt uncertain about what the film was doing. I really felt like the film knew exactly what it wanted you to get from each single thing. And I really, really enjoyed that. I didn't get annoyed at all by any of it. I mean, interesting because you laughed more than me.
I laughed a lot.
Yeah, you laughed a lot. I was chuckling, but like there was a point in the third act, which is a long third act.
It's a 4-act film. I'll get on to
that. It's a 2.5 hour film actually, which is longer than the other ones. But like, there's a point in the third act where I was just like, I'm really, really enjoying this. The third act in particular is very well choreographed in that it's that thing we talked about before where something's over there that needs to be done, but then you can't do that because then someone's been taken over there. And meanwhile, and there's all these miscellaneous multi-threats happening at the same time, which play off each other, which I really enjoyed. I was expecting a film that's all about Quill trying to find Gamora, and I really liked that it wasn't that.
It wasn't that movie. And now, if it would have been kind of strange and odd.
It's I'm really glad that they and the way that they deal with that storyline is great. But yeah, in a time when like superhero, I know I haven't kept up with the MCU as much as you have recently, but in a time when it feels like not just Marvel but all superhero IP is having an identity crisis. Yeah. So obviously like DC is just being rebooted, but also like I know I didn't see Ant-Man Quantumania, but I think the issue there was like you have the Ant-Man films, low stakes, San Francisco set Ant-Man, and you've just forgotten all of that, wiped that clean, and put him in, CGI realm, and it almost like Doctor Strange as well. It's like, we're just going to make this about multiverse.
It really feels like these are separate franchises within a franchise.
Totally.
I'm almost like these are different writers, different directors, different vision, different characters. It's very fun when they come together, but like I actually am seeing them all find their own voice.
But that's so in the context of that, having a film that was so clear about what it was and what it wanted to be, was just so refreshing. And I was like, this is what it should be. This is what it should be. It doesn't need to be anything more than this. It's entertaining. It's funny. It's emotionally engaging. It's got spectacle. I didn't think any of the CGI looked rubbery, as we've had problems with.
It was weirdly quite sharp. For considering how opulent and bright and expressive it is with costume and location, it wasn't bad to look at.
And also, I liked that you could still have a little bit of individual director flair coming through. And that, last year when we talked about each through the directors of the MCU and what they'd done before. So James Gunn, who had worked in like Troma stuff, which is like kind of squishy, gory, low budget horror films. There are moments in the Guardians universe in this film which are like, oh, that's weird. That's a weird thing. And there's two particular moments of gruesome gore that I was like, whoa, wow, we're going to do that in this film. That's pretty bloody, very bloody. And the film also has just such a specific sense of humor as well to its world that I just really enjoyed. I do have a couple of reservations. Shall I say them now, or do you want me to hand over to you? I mean,
I agree with. We can. Do you want to go for it?
Okay. Well, I was just going to say my only main reservation. It's not a reservation because I actually enjoyed it wholeheartedly. I really had a great time with this. And actually, sorry, in the days we're recording this 2 days after seeing it, in the days since, I've had that kind of warm post-film glow when you've seen something really enjoyable. Adam Warlock is the film's kind of weak link. Will Poulter is great. He's a great actor, and as he shows in this film, he has and always has had impeccable comic timing.
Yes,
he is brilliant, but. The film is, I said how certain the film is. That's the one uncertainty. The film doesn't really know.
I feel like they made a promise a few years ago in a post-credit scene. And
to do Adam Warlock.
Remember we did say we were going to do that, guys.
Yeah.
I think we should
and it's
write him
very quickly, this isn't even a spoiler, I think, because it's in the first 15 minutes. Adam Warlock isn't really the villain of this film. He's an antagonist.
But he's a very loud-looking character with lots of powers and
ill-defined
powers. His skin is like painted yellow with a jewel, and he's very like boy Superman, and I'm like,
there's this one vein of Guardians 3 that basically picks up on Guardians 2 in a way that I'm like, that's actually quite a long time ago, Guardians 2, and so much has happened since that. Bringing back Adam Warlock is part of the Sovereign, which was Elizabeth Debicki, who was the Gold People. Remember the Gold People? And they turn up, and that whole plot, I was like, oh, we could have just. I was happy you could have just left those people. I didn't need you to bring them back, but okay, there they are. And Sylvester Stallone turning up in the most pointless inclusion at all.
Like 4 lines
and 2 days of filming.
After the credits roll, we were like, how much do you think Sly Stallone gets to just do like what would be 3 days of filming? Because he's an expensive actor, but he's also
he brings nothing. He could have been cut and added nothing, but
it would be a few hundred grand, if not $1 million, to do so little of the film.
It's like they said, oh, he was in Guardians 2, and to make that make sense, we've got to bring it in.
Bring the gang back.
Elizabeth Debicki, look, we love Elizabeth Debicki, good actress.
Fantastic.
But it is very evident in this film
she was also filming The Crown.
deep in filming The Crown, and they phoned her and said, we need you to film 2 days of shooting.
She went,
Guardians.
Oh gosh,
yeah.
What a ball.
And okay, I know she's playing another high royal, but honestly, every scene that she's in, she did about 3 scenes, it's just Diana. It's just Diana. It's like,
close your eyes.
Yeah. And they're like, where are the Guardians now? I think they're actually over on Xandar. Particularly, it's terribly sad. I've got Adam Warlock here, and he's going to go and blow you up. And I'm like, it's so distracting.
It's really distracting. And I can't think of what her Guardians 1 performance was like to compare it to, but it was.
It's not the same. But also, what I do like is there are little inclusions that sort of tie this sort of whole franchise to a close, which is there are small, like the character in the first Guardians who runs the pawn shop, who's quite posh. He turns up in this towards the end, just as a minor thing. I'm like, oh, I like that little ceiling, and also the character in the first Guardians, who Drax steals his knife, and he's like, that was my favorite knife. It's a throwaway line.
Right, is he in there?
He turns up in one scene.
Oh, nice.
I liked that kind of attention to detail. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Overall, really positive. I had a really great time with it. I think this is what it should be. James?
I had a very good time with it. I really did. I think we saw it in a good environment. I did laugh. It was probably the funniest Marvel film for a long time, or even since a Guardians film. One of the things I'm... as again, like a meta Marvel thing, I think I'm wondering how they're going to keep this going, is this Grey's Anatomy problem I've talked about before. When you're in season 18 of Grey's Anatomy, it starts to become a little bit silly how many things have happened to these characters, especially when you're doing a podcast or you're trying to explain to someone like my girlfriend who's not seen any Marvel post-Avengers 1. Yeah. I'm trying to explain to her the Gamora situation, which in this film, by the way, I counted, they tried to explain it 4 times. They did very well, but they had to explain it in different ways. They mentioned the Soul Stone, they mentioned this, they mentioned the fact that they came back to really have someone who's not seen this film before understand, because...
Which is more than other films have actually tried.
More than other films
good
do.
For it, for at least attempting to. Other films just assume you know.
And a lot of these films now are coming in with this baggage of the entire plot lines of 20... Is it 30 now? It must be 30 films. And I'm wondering, is this starting to almost sound a bit ridiculous? Because even in a world like Marvel, so many things have happened, and these characters are starting to, I think... They are at risk of being slightly backstory fatigued.
Yes.
There's only so much an actor can remember what's happened to them in a performance and try and make the events happening to them now feel normal and relevant. Do you know what I mean?
No, I
do. It becomes a bit hard.
But that's also what I liked about this film, was trying to resolve.
I think Guardians 3 did such a good job of carrying all their previous stories from the 3 Guardians films, the 2 events, well, let's be honest, Infinity War is the main one they're in, and to have all of that baggage and still have a story that really works and feels relevant, and it makes me want to tune in, because I think this is a story that is worth paying attention to. And I think they did that by having a tone that is really different to what loads of other Marvel films were. Death and goodbyes were a constant, were just present throughout the whole film's runtime. It really did feel like, I said last day of school, where the energy's a little bit weird, and we do feel like everything's kind of winding down.
And that's right, a real sense of threat for all characters. I really did think, who's going to not make it?
And they really could have done it, because you had that tone throughout the whole time of, this might be the end for a lot of people, this might not be the very big happy, we're all going to come together. That, I think, gave it a real sense of gravitas, and it made me really sort of wonder, I don't know where this is going, and that's what I really liked it for. I did laugh. I did think there were some jokes that really got me. I'd had a couple of beers, so maybe that was there as well. But like if you know the joke with the carrot, just really cracked me up. Yeah. Everything with Nathan Fillion, I just thought was really funny. And just
that's what I meant by that really specific
Guardians
non sequitur humor that's
It's
irrelevant.
like, this is a weird planet and I'm a human,
Yeah.
but like I understand things so different to you, and I've all my rules, and like the costumes, you look at them and they're just so ridiculous. They remind me of like old Doctor Who.
Yes.
But it just works, and you just believe this. A lot of it is like spongy, and I can see that that's real. And this location is ridiculous.
And there's a scene, not spoiler talking, but like there's a very 1970s set domestic setting for one, which is so weird.
It's so weird, but I get
niche,
it.
But I totally get it as well.
We are Other Earth, the alternate Earth.
Counter Earth.
Counter Earth.
Yeah,
It's just,
yeah.
just all these little shots that I'm just like, this is evoking so many things. I know exactly what you're trying to do, and it's so funny. So that being said, I really enjoyed it. We mentioned before, it kind of felt like a 4-act film. And it's interesting you said that the third act is, you were really on for it. It did start to lose me in the third act.
Oh, really?
I felt like it was overly long. I felt like there were 2 sort of final sequences that I sort of thought we were coming to the end, and I realized, there's actually a whole nother one. Not saying that's a problem. I felt like, because we established this really great emotional heartbeat and this sort of tenderness that this film was coming with, I felt like the bagginess of its last 30 minutes had a real drag factor on its emotional momentum.
Oh, okay.
And it started to slightly, like, you've got some great moments where our characters come together and have a really cool thing. I just think you had a good 15 minutes of kind of generic lull that for me could have been gone.
Oh, really?
And then the villain who, it's hard when you've got these in-between villains. Like, we get so much depth in our Thanos and arguably our Kang.
The one-film villains.
And I feel like all this villain had to do towards the end of the film is just scream a little bit louder. And I was like, there's actually no more, there's not like another element for you to twist me with. I just felt like you just screamed louder. And I was a little bit like, I don't really care about you.
I think I feel more kindly about it.
Yeah.
I actually don't remember feeling a lull throughout the entire film. I remember feeling this one's got a pace. This film moves at quite.
I was like, this needs to.
Oh, really?
I get it. I know what you're trying to do. You need to like wrap it up.
No, I maybe that's not when your beer wore off. And you were just craving for another one.
First 2 acts, apart from the opening, which I found a bit jarring with the immediate action scene. All of that, I was in and we were moving. And I just found like you tried to sustain the momentum of a third act for too long, and you did 4 acts.
Okay, I mean, I thought the High Evolutionary was a good villain. Actually, I thought the actor. I think, as you said, being a one-film villain is really hard.
Really hard.
And what Chukwudi Iwuji does is balance. He gets the necessary right balance of just enough camp and just enough threat.
Sure.
So I always felt when he was on screen, particularly in the flashbacks, to be very threatening.
Yeah.
To bring a presence and to not... when you're doing a shouty, screamy villain, you could end up... The worst thing you could do is be like Eddie Redmayne in Jupiter Ascending, right?
Which I've not seen, but
I've seen me too. The clips. My mother, I bring life! Sorry, I shouted into the mic.
It's fine.
Do you want to do it again?
No, it's fine.
But he doesn't do that. I think he works, and I agree that he gets a bit shouty towards the end. But I don't know. That's part of his deterioration. I could still understand in his arc why he's fraying and why he's getting so incensed. His powers are also quite ill-defined. But
Very
I guess
Doctor Who as well, with the way his skin is like repeeled onto his face and clipped on with bulldog clips.
That
like
little
strapped.
element of just like grotesquerie.
Yes, like fine beauty, but sort of you realise it's sort of been hatcheted together.
There's a great there's so many cool moments as well. There are individual, particularly with Groot. There's some good bits where I was like, that's really cool. And that's really good.
Groot is in like he's back to his full power, and he's really
swole.
cool. He's absolutely huge, and they have this like, let's fire up Kaiju Groot. It's like, no, do not fire up Kaiju Groot. And Groot like goes into like Godzilla, and they're like, no, we don't need that.
I think that I don't know whether this is maybe where we're slightly different, but I never watched the trailer for this film. I never saw it.
Okay.
So I knew nothing going in. So
I feel like I think the trailer did a good job of not revealing that much. I feel like the trailer led you down this idea of, it's going to be Peter Quill trying to convince Gamora to fall in love with him again. And that it wasn't that. I do think it's interesting how...
but hang on, sorry. Just finish up. Go on. Sorry.
No, go on.
No, you start.
I was going to say, I think it's interesting how it made me think about all of these other points to do with animal experimentation, like people wanting to... Yeah, it's really... Like, I think we can say this as part of the plot. It was this idea that Rocket Raccoon was part of this group of experimented animals who were being experimented on to enhance their cognitive function and their physicality, to find a way to solve algorithms, to find a cure and a fix for the perfect society. And they were sort of he was kept in cages with a bunch of other animals, and if they weren't no longer useful, they would just potentially be discarded. But what they were given is consciousness and the ability to speak and basically like fall in love and make friends.
Yeah.
It's just so sad.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was
Some of those beats I saw coming from like a mile away.
Linda Cardellini voicing one of them, who
Lila.
I want to know if that is the only actor to appear in the MCU twice as different characters, because she plays Hawkeye's wife.
Oh, nice.
And that is just a little bit of observation there. But I can't think off the top of my head if there's anyone else, but
Yeah.
that is it. But so on the whole, you felt positive. I think I felt much more positive. I would
did feel
happily
its length.
rewatch that.
I will rewatch it on a cozy day, but I do think it was overly long. I do think it was baggy.
But it ended so well.
It did end well.
Do you not think the way it concluded everyone's arc?
Yeah, you know, it had a real like sort of sad, somber ending as well. There wasn't as much of like, like we're ending.
It was an emotionally mature ending.
Yes,
that's what I'd say.
Yeah,
and that's not spoiling anything. And we will talk about it. By the way, I just want to sympathise. So we saw that on the Friday it came out.
Yeah.
Maybe the day after. Sometimes they come out on a Thursday, right?
They do like Thursday, yeah.
But the next morning, my TikTok was full of spoilers.
Really? Was it?
I'm so glad I saw this film because there were like clips, bits that people had clearly filmed in the cinema of the ending and things like that. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So you are warned, guys. If you go seeing a massive film like this, just try and stay clear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Have you seen Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3? If you have, write into Hello at Pulp Kitchen Podcast and let us know your thoughts. Hello at pulpkitchenpodcast.com, I should say. Otherwise, it'll be floating around in the ether. It's implied. Do you agree with us? Did you like it? Or did you dislike it? What are your thoughts?
I'm glad it's a little sort of correction onto the better side of Marvel stuff. It has been a little bit... a lot of my sort of non-filmy friends are like, oh, Marvel's really... I'm not really interested anymore. It is a little bit. And I haven't been able to properly recommend a Marvel film in a while.
But I also do think that the finality of it, the fact that it knows it is trying to draw a conclusion, gives it such focus and gives it such a sense of purpose, like a raison d'etre. It gives a complete reason to exist. And I felt that throughout the entire thing.
Do you think it does, Marvel are doing themselves a disservice by announcing 8 years worth of films? Well, no, like 4 years worth of films. Because like I know this film is coming, so therefore...
Yes, I had that with the middle part of like the last decade. When Age of Ultron came about, I remember being like...
This isn't the...
Yeah, but I was like, well, it's not the first Avengers, which we've had.
Yeah.
And we know you've got to do Infinity War in 3 years' time.
Yeah.
And this feels very much like a stepping stone. And I do think that is a problem if you over-announce.
Because we know what the next 7 films are.
And this isn't a spoiler, thankfully. The word multiverse and the multiverse as a concept is nothing to do with this film.
Yeah.
Completely separate.
I didn't even think of that, but what a there wasn't million versions of different characters coming in and just breaking the rules.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's so true.
Anyway, let us know your thoughts at hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. That was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Guys, it's that time of the episode again when we go through some of the emails that you send us to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com. Colin writes into hello@popkitchenpodcast.com and says, hello, James and George.
Hello.
Forgive me if this topic was covered, but while listening a few episodes, but not all, brackets, it's not you, it's me, lack of time, so I choose episodes with movies I'm more interested in, but I do revisit episodes once I've seen the movies talked about.
I don't take it personally.
That's fair, I understand. You guys talk as fondly about animated films as much as you talk about live action ones, which is nice and refreshing compared to other critics that just write off all animation as childish. You put critics in inverted commas. Okay. Who's writing off animation as childish in this day and age?
I think people who don't watch a lot of films.
Yeah.
I think that is the
Well, this is nice. I've noticed that you tend to talk mostly about 3D animated movies and not 2D animation. So what are your favourite 2D animated movies?
Explain.
So 3D, Shrek is 3D.
Got it.
Right? Snow White 2D, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 2D.
Got it.
It's got nothing to do with glasses and something reaching out. It's like computer-generated depth versus cartoon hand-drawn.
Got it, okay.
That makes sense. Normally, my mind goes straight towards the Japanese anime, such as Akira, the Studio Ghibli films, and recently Suzume, which had a theatrical release in the US. However, you also have things like DreamWorks' Prince of Egypt, which is great.
Yeah, we mentioned that.
Road to El Dorado and Spirit. Thanks,
wow,
Colin.
Road to El Dorado. I want to be Emperor's New Groove.
Oh, so funny.
Yeah.
The
poison.
Kronk, like, my spinach puffs.
I don't remember that. I actually, you know what? I saw that in the cinema.
There's a moment like in the final action sequence when they're like really high up at the top of the building. They're having this fight scene, and they manage to knock off Ema, the evil one, who's at this point a cat, and she's falling, and it cuts to another scene, and then it's on the ground, and this guy's like, "For the last time, I did not order this giant trampoline," and the cat goes, "Oh, please." Just goes back up. Just because for plot reasons they didn't want to kill the villain then. They're like, how do we get her back from falling?
That is so good.
It's so funny.
And you know, you must have seen the meme where it's like, especially when we were at uni, it's like, you know, when you're trying to bump up that word count, and it's like the poison for Cusco, the poison specifically intended for Cusco. Cusco's poison.
Poison for Cusco. Cusco's poison. Voiced by what's his name from Seinfeld? Puddy.
Patrick Warburton.
Oh, iconic voice. He plays voices Joe in Family Guy. Listen to me, we're gonna go get Cusco's poison. All right, Cusco.
So I don't. Yeah, in terms of, I mean, we've just covered some there. I can't think of
Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Of course,
absolutely amazing. I want to say, obviously, like Disney very much dominates that sphere from the sort of 20th century.
I mean, we like them, but we don't. I think they're just not as prominent or as prevalent as.
Hold on. I mentioned The Prince of Egypt for Passover. That is good. Really, really good. Fantastic version of that story that stands up years later.
You know what doesn't stand up and no one talks about is Exodus, Gods and Kings.
Yes.
The Ridley Scott.
Christian Bale and not Taron Egerton, Joel Edgerton.
Joel Edgerton,
yeah. That's like, Ridley Scott loves a big period set war epic with as many extras as he can afford. He really does. I know he's doing Napoleon and Gladiator 2.
He's doing Napoleon?
Yeah,
really?
He's doing Napoleon. Joaquin Phoenix playing Napoleon.
He's doing that, is he? Oh, that's Ridley. Okay. Yeah, Ridley's Scott very hit and miss at the moment, I think. He's in that stage, no offense, Ridley.
Well, I think he's going back to his kind of style of, I'm going to make these big, old school war epic.
Is he doing the Gladiator 2? I didn't think he was doing Gladiator 2.
Oh, maybe he's producing it. To find out who's doing Gladiator 2. I know he's doing Napoleon.
No, he is directing Gladiator sequel.
And that's coming out next year.
Great cast. Paul Mescal. Get this. Paul Mescal, Barry Keoghan, Joe Quinn from Stranger Things, which you won't know, but he was really great, and the breakout star of the latest season, and Pedro Pascal.
So that's interesting. Napoleon is coming out this year, and Gladiator 2 is coming out next year. So 2023 and 2024, he's releasing 2 films of that scale, of that budget. How has he found the time to shoot and edit those behemoths? Yeah, he's got clone. There's 7 of him just in a room. Is that weird?
That is mad. Anyway, Colin, I hope we've answered your email fairly enough. This next email is from Jordan. By the way, sorry, random one. You know, we keep getting emails about guilty pleasures.
Yes.
And we've had it so many times that we always forget. I caught a little bit of the edit, of last week's episode with about what our guilty pleasures were. I didn't know what to say, but I've said it before, and I will say it for this one. If you had to say guilty pleasure, I would just say the film that no one would think to hold up anyway. Alan Partridge movie, Alpha Papa. That's my guilty pleasure. Funny, that qualifies as a guilty pleasure.
But it's not a bad film.
It's not a bad film at all. But I think it's guilty pleasure in the sense that it's like no one else is like. You're not watching that to talk to anyone. No one else is championing that film. No one else is like talking about that film. A lot of people don't like that character. It's like it's adapted from TV.
Yeah.
But I know it's not a guilty pleasure at all. But like I would say, that's the one I'd whack on.
Yeah. Did you ever watch Mindhorn?
No, is that good?
It's funny. Yeah. It's with Julian Clary. That's really
not Julian Clary.
No, I always do this. Who is it?
Julian from Mighty Boosh. Mighty Boosh, Julian. Yeah. Anyway.
That's really funny. It's a really weird style of humor that I think if they said I don't find that funny, I'd be like, I really get it. But when I saw it in cinema, it really tickled me.
This next email is from Jordan, who says,
Jordan.
Hi, James and George. My name is Jordan, and I'm a new friend of the show from Cardiff in South Wales.
Nice.
Surprisingly, I'm not one of the many that found you through TikTok. Oh. I was browsing Spotify for a film podcast one day and decided to give yours a go based solely on the fact that your name is a pun of one of my all-time favourite movies.
Well, I love that SEO.
Yes, nice. I've been binging ever since. Thank you for keeping me sane at my miserable job. Oh, Jordan, I'm sorry. I hope it pulls through. My big film opinion is that trailers ruin films.
Yeah.
I think they completely spoil the surprise of a film and rob you of the emotions that come with experiencing everything for the first time and actually watching it. My biggest example of this is that I managed to avoid all trailers/posters and spoilers for No Way Home.
Whoa. That was hard.
Yes, I've been a massive Spider-Man fan my whole life, so I cannot describe the overwhelming feeling of joy I experienced seeing all those characters from my childhood in one place without knowing anything beforehand.
Amazing.
I'm 25, and I'm not afraid to say I bawled like a baby for both happy and sad reasons all the way through that film. I strongly believe I had a much more emotional reaction to that film than all my friends, and I put solely down to the fact that I avoided everything before seeing it. I'm interested to hear your guys' opinions on this, as I understand trailers are important for marketing purposes, absolutely, and they're part of the enjoyment of going to the cinema, and they're important to build hype. But I much prefer reading the synopsis online and looking at the reviews before watching something. Maybe this only works for big blockbuster films that are part of an already established franchise.
Reviews can also have a similar effect. Sorry, finish your email.
No, so maybe that only works for big blocks, recognized IP where you kind of know what you're going to get. Yeah. So I was wondering, are there any films you guys have done this with, or if you could go back, are there any films you could wish you experienced without knowing a single thing beforehand? Absolutely loving the pod and listening to you both share the same enthusiasm for films I have. Best wishes both. Jordan, in brackets, new friend of the show. P.S. I can't believe the Charlie's Angels slander I've been exposed to recently. Yeah. I was screaming Charlie's Angels in my car thinking it was an obvious answer to the previous Matt LeBlanc question. Thanks again if you read this out, lol. Not sent from my iPhone, sent from my iPhone.
Thank you very much. We're starting to collect a list of films that we've very passingly been like, who the hell's watching that? And now we have 5-year-olds be like, I watched that. Yeah. I love that film.
On trailers.
You and I have been campaigning for a while now that trailers really are ruining. And I think that is a byproduct of us being engaged in cinema and seeing a lot of films, and obviously we do a podcast where we want to talk about upcoming films, and I think some of the structure of films of late where the final sequence is very action heavy and it's very all the clips from that are very trailer worthy, especially when it comes to superhero films and sort of big event films, and I really do feel like you're showing me that half of the film. I'm getting a very good sense of where everyone's going to end up, thus ruining a lot of suspense that comes with it. I'll think about a film like Interstellar, which you could never have really predicted where that ending would go based on the trailer. I don't really think that a trailer for that film could ruin a story like that. That being said, not all films have plots and ideas that are like quality of Interstellar. I don't really know the solution. I think films do have to sell their film, and they're going to have to show some of the best, most impressive bits to get people to say, wow, I do want to see that. But I don't think I'm in a position to stop watching trailers, which is very sad.
You know me, I'm much more
You really give it a good go, yeah.
I do not watch trailers. I try not to, especially if I know what, so the Dune Part 2 trailer is out.
Which was fantastic.
I have not watched it yet. I was going to, but my girlfriend said to me, I think it shows too much.
I know what moment she kind of means, but I wasn't, when I watched it the first time, I thought, fuck.
So I might watch half of the trailer, enough to whet my appetite, but I might then close off. Before I saw Guardians 2, I went to the cinema to see another film. And they put the Guardians 3 trailer on. And I did that. I mean, I was on my own, but I don't care if I look weird. I just did the thing where I looked straight down.
George, like a man in prayer, covers his eyes and just sort of looks down to himself.
Just look down, because it's one thing to hear it, but if I see it, you'll remember it. So
I know exactly where to cut you off on the Dune 2 trailer if you want to watch it after the show. Sorry, the Wild Hogs are in town. I can cut you off and give you a nice little in. But just quickly, on the Dune Part 2 trailer, oh God, I can't wait to see it. It looks fantastic.
Well, do you know what?
I want to see that on a screen the size of a Titan.
Yes.
And just blast it into my eyes.
But in this trailer coming out, I was like, I really haven't thought about that first film at all.
I think I'll rewatch it.
I think I will rewatch it too, to give it a fair crack of the whip. Jordan, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Sorry about the Charlie's Angels slander.
In with the next email.
This next one's called Josh, who says, hi boys, I'm from Australia, and I just wanted to say I really like your podcast. Keep up the good work. Recently, I found that I haven't seen a lot of movies considered to be the all-time classics. With a huge access to film on streaming services, I wanted to know if you guys have created a list of about 10 to 20 must-watch. I really enjoyed when you spoke about the 1001 movies to watch before you die book and wanted to know your personal picks. Thanks, Josh. Josh, that is an amazing shout, and it's something that could easily take up an entire episode where you and I went through our because obviously there is no definitive list of 10 to 20 must-watch films. That's completely dependent on who you are and what you've seen and what resonates. But it's a cool idea.
Here's my idea. Here's something I think we should do. Obviously, I represent the show on Letterboxd with my Letterboxd account.
There's that.
I'm thinking, because you and I will mention lots of films in an episode that we aren't reviewing, we just refer to them. Oh, do you remember that film? Did that?
The Prestige being one.
Yeah, exactly. I think we should build a list on Letterboxd that says Pulp Kitchen approved or Pulp Kitchen sanctioned.
Truman Show.
Yeah. And you know, like a couple of weeks ago where we were talking about Samuel L. Jackson, I said, "Oh, Out of Sight, that Steven Soderbergh film that's really good." And you were like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I was like, "Oh no, you really need to see that." That's an example that would go on there.
This is a great idea.
A Pulp Kitchen sanctioned,
but
a Pulp Kitchen approved list.
I think it would have to be an infinite list because it would forever be added to.
Every episode, I'd make a mental note of every film we bring up that we say, "Oh, that's such a good film."
And these aren't like the best films of all time. It's more films that we champion frequently and that sort of are worth
that we hold dear.
And I think probably films that we're not going to put Star Wars 1 on there. It's like, you probably might not have seen, but hopefully you do. Great idea. I think just a great idea for an episode.
Also with Josh, I mean, like, if you're just getting into film, I don't know if you are, but like if you're just looking for like film classics, you can't go wrong with things like the 1001 book, movie.
Yeah.
But also
it's easy to slag that off, but I actually think it's a very.
It sounds really basic, but like the IMDb top 250.
Yes, you
just
can go through.
That's just a way of making a start.
Yeah.
And soon enough, you'll find yourself exploring different things. This next email is from Cal, who says, "Hi, lad." I don't know what happened there. Hello. He says, "Hey, lads. My name is Cal, and I'm from Baltimore, Maryland."
Oh, wow. Good morning, Baltimore.
I've recently discovered the podcast, and I've been an avid listener ever since.
Nice.
Good to hear. I've always loved evaluating, ranking, and reviewing movies, and I'm so grateful that you guys have created a platform for someone like me to learn about films.
Yes,
You're
Cal,
welcome. That's
here.
great. I just watched the movie Prisoners with some friends, and we were really disappointed with its ending.
Oh.
For a mystery thriller to be good, in my opinion, the conclusion has to be something you work towards the entire movie. So once you reach the film's end, you can go back and see how the mystery led you to that point.
Mm-hmm.
This movie just tells you the answer without much build-up at all. However, the movie was shot in a very effective way. Yeah, it's Roger Deakins. It's incredible. As the visuals really nail the tone of the film. Also, Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal both deliver amazing performances.
And Paul Dano.
Yeah, I mean, and the whole cast is pretty good in that.
All amazing.
But I don't think it's enough to salvage the movie's poor ending. Please let me know what you guys think about the movie, and if I'm just completely wrong. P.S. Good Will Hunting is my favourite movie, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts about it. Keep up the good work. Cal. James, Prisoners.
I haven't seen Prisoners since I saw it in the cinema in 2014-15, whenever it came out.
2013.
Yeah. And I remember being completely captivated by it, and I was really trying to unpack the mystery in my mind. I thought it was brilliant. I thought Jake Gyllenhaal was doing this sort of weird sort of like emo policeman thing. Yeah. But it was so good, and I thought the ending was really cool. And I think I don't remember the details of the plot now, but I think the fact that that person is the person who's done it, I'm trying to keep spoiler free, is if you watch it back, like you could the clues are there.
Yeah.
Not overtly, but like it's there for you. And I thought I'm not trying to spoil it. The stillness of the whistle and that ending was a very like a tone for the ending that matched the rest of the movie. It wasn't sensational and crazy. It made sense.
I agree. I haven't seen it. I've only seen it. I have seen it, but I haven't seen it since I saw it that one time, like 10 years ago.
It is 10 years old.
I don't remember the ending being a complete knockout. I think I can't remember it enough, but I do. I kind of, cool. Cal, I think I sort of get your thing of like, I do get the element of like, oh, okay, that was actually quite simple an ending.
Sure.
I have a very minor similar thing with the ending of the first season of True Detective.
Yeah.
With how they arrive at the conclusion that the person who did the thing is a little bit like, hey, what about that picture? Didn't that person say that thing? And I'm like, would someone actually ever put those two and two things together?
It's kind of like the sort of, there's a beauty in sometimes the most unremarkable solution being the answer. Yes. And if you can justify it, that's a cool way to do it. I just thought it was in Prisoners, I thought it was a very still and quiet, powerful ending. I left the cinema being like, whoa. And just the performances, like when Hugh Jackman is interrogating Paul Dano and smashing the sink with the hammer.
I really didn't like that though.
It was hard. I thought it was hard to watch.
Because I also just thought, I was like, I don't like you doing this. This is not nice.
No, it's not nice, but it's...
Anyway, that was that email.
This next one's from Joe. It says, "Hi guys, I recently came across your podcast and downloaded a bunch of episodes to listen to while on holiday in Italy recently."
Oh, che bello.
I like that.
Molto bene.
I hope whenever me and George are on the phone and one of us is in Europe, there's always a siren and it's like the classic European siren of like...
And also the moped sound of...
It's always had quite a few long train journeys, so the pod was much appreciated. I downloaded a few older episodes and then some of your more recent ones. I've got to say, from early on, the quality always seems to have been top notch. You were waiting to be like, the quality was absolutely
shocking. No, thank you, Joe.
That's very glad for you to hear. I cannot watch our earlier episodes, which is a good thing because it means that we are getting better.
I think that's harsh on ourselves, James.
It is harsh.
Give us a break.
But I think if you're not looking back at where you were a year ago and thinking,
we're seeing it from a completely different perspective. That's why.
Yeah. In episode 72, you were discussing best movie insults, and I was gutted to hear that neither of my 2 all-time favourite movie insults didn't get a mention. They are 1, Cousin Abby saying, "Shut up and sit down, you big bald fuck," to Doug the head in Snatch.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
And probably, these are really good, and probably my favourite, number 2, Ralph Fiennes shouting, "You're an inanimate fucking object," to his wife during In Bruges as he smashes her phone to pieces. They're 2 of my favourite films of all time too, so wondered what your opinions are on them. Love the pod and keep up the great work. Cheers. Joe from Liverpool. P.S. A controversial movie take I have is I prefer Monsters University over Monsters Inc.
What?
It's a real family favourite in my house, but the original is still amazing. Sent from my Outlook from Android. And I will say, I can't get on board with that. Monsters University was a really disappointing, unneeded prequel. It's not bad. I'm just like, continue Monsters Inc.
Yes.
Monsters Inc. is one of the most amazing original ideas. It's really well realised. And it's so clever. And I just wanted more in that universe. And you went back to do something that's got nothing to do with, it was just basically a college film.
Yeah.
I'm definitely reducing it because I saw it very briefly when I was at uni and I was like, I don't know why they went down that route.
But good shout on the insults. That's
great. We got someone else
also,
sending in an insult, which is very good. Thank you, Ray Fiennes. You're an inanimate fucking object.
There's loads of good ones in Bruges as well, where it's like, I mean, when Brendan Gleeson insults Ray Fiennes, and he's like, "You take that back. You redacted. All right, I redacted it, didn't I? Call them up children, bloody C words." This last email is from Sadiq, who says, "Yay! I just watched episode 73 and heard y'all say pulpettes, and I'm excited to hear it's catching on." Hey, guys, if you're listening, you might be a pulpette, you might be a kitchenette, whatever. It's like Jets and Sharks. Doesn't matter. You know, if you're one, you're the other. Doesn't worry.
We'll have to define it at some point in the future.
But you guys champion it. That's right, because Sadiq was writing from Canada. And I finally got an opportunity, he says, to watch Rye Lane per your recommendation, which is now available on Disney+, by the way. I found it very exciting. The cinematography and the play on the eye-hold camera, wide-angle movements, and character switching made for an enjoyable movie experience. One more thing I enjoyed was the realness of the characters, portraying their environment in such a way that is relatable. An absolute must-watch to other pulpettes out there. Thank you again.
They
Sadiq.
felt like very real characters in a sort of very larger-than-life environment, which I always thought worked really nicely. And Sadiq, I love that you sent this from your work email as a consultant with a very professional signature with your email address, your Canadian phone number. I won't obviously out to you from which consulting firm, but nice to know that we're just out there amongst the consultants that listen out. Very sort of professionally opinionated people. Yeah, importer export latex. But guys, thank you so much for sending in your emails. And thank you to the people who this week came up to me, listeners who came up to me on the tube and said they listen and said hi, which is very kind.
Oh, well, welcome. Yes, hello.
Always do say hello if you do.
Yes, I was with you moments before.
Yes. And I find it really, like if someone says, "Oh, I've seen your TikToks." Yeah. I'm not to like brag, but like those get quite a lot of views, and I'm like, oh, like nice. Like I sort of understand that. When a listener, like because they're not like we have a few thousand, but it's not
someone who has spent hours with us.
Like it's a very intimate thing. When they say like, I'm like, wow, you found me. Like that's really quite.
They're all of me.
They're all of me. Not something me and dressed as blue and wiggly. Thank you very much, as always, guys. Send in your emails to hello@popkitchenpodcast.com.
As ever, James, let's finish this episode with some games. We do love a game, don't we?
We do.
And I've tried to come up with some new ones this week.
I hope the audience like the games.
I assumed they did. Do you guys? I hope so. I hope it's a nice way to send you out into the world afterwards.
Leave you a bit of trivia, get the brain racing.
Get a little chuckle.
Keep you sharp.
Yes, and focused. For this first round, James, okay, here we go. I would like you, I'm not going to give you a time limit, but I would like you to guess the actor from their real name. Guess the actor. Do you understand?
What?
From their real name. I'm going to name you a list of actors.
Yeah.
And I'm going to name you. Sorry. Okay. You want me to explain?
Mean?
Sorry. I understand your confusion.
Yeah.
I'm going to name you a list of actors by their real names.
Okay.
And you're going to have to try and guess which actors those are. Okay?
What do you mean actors by their real names?
Their real names. They're not their stage names.
Oh.
Their real names. They're real nice.
Yes, okay. Because fine.
Sorry.
Gotcha.
I mean,
what you were trying to do, guess the actor from the character. But,
what I said wasn't incorrect.
That's fine. I got you. I got you.
So this list of actors have stage names. Can you guess who they are from their real names?
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1. Mark Sinclair.
Mark Rylance.
Vin Diesel.
What?
I know.
What?
I know, right? Thomas Mapother IV.
What? Tom Hiddleston.
No.
Oh, Thomas.
Bigger.
Say it again.
Thomas Mapother IV.
Cruise?
Tom Cruise.
What?
Indeed. Yep. Natalie Hirschlag.
Natalie Hirschlag. Who would that be? No idea.
Natalie Hirschlag.
Go on.
Natalie Portman.
What? Natalie?
Yep. Morris Micklewhite.
These aren't real names.
They are.
Morris Micklewhite. Morris, who? I got no
It's an
idea.
old-fashioned name. Think of an age of a person.
Morris Micklewhite. Ian McKellen?
Michael Caine.
Yes, that's good.
Margaret Mary Emily Ann.
Margaret Mary Emily Ann. Maggie Smith?
No, Meg Ryan. Olivia Cockburn.
Olivia Colman.
No.
Olivia Cockburn.
Other.
Olivia Wilde.
Correct. Demetria Jean Gaines.
Demetria Jean Gaines.
Yeah.
Is that a woman?
Yeah. Demetria Jean Gaines. Demetria. Demi Moore.
Oh, wow.
Eric Marlon Bishop.
Eric Banner.
No.
Hold on.
You're not
Eric
going to get it.
Marlon Bishop. No, go on.
Jamie Foxx.
What?
This one is a bit of a half one because this person is also famous for doing something else. Stephanie Joanne Angelina Germanotta.
Angelina Jolie.
No.
Stephanie Joanne.
Angelina Germanotta.
No idea.
Lady Gaga.
Oh, okay.
Vera Mindy Jakalingham.
Vera Farmiga.
No. Vera Mindy Jakalingham. Sorry.
Oh,
Vera Mindy Jakalingham.
Mindy Kaling.
Correct. Christopher John Grace. This is a bit of a trick one.
Christopher Lee.
Christopher John Grace. Christopher John Grace.
I don't know. Go on.
Topher Grace.
Oh, God, that's
Yeah,
deep.
I know. Julie Ann Smith.
Julianne Moore.
Correct. Karen Elaine Johnson.
Carrie Fisher.
No.
Karen Elaine Johnson. No.
Whoopi Goldberg.
What?
And lastly, Joaquin Raphael Bottom.
Joaquin Phoenix?
Yeah.
His last name's
Bottom. Yeah. So, an interesting
I'm
read
sorry,
there.
I am completely mind blown that basically everyone has a stage name.
Yes, absolutely.
That was fascinating.
So-
Isn't Emma Stone also?
No, she's Emily. She's Emily
Emily
something Stone. or
Yeah.
Emily
God,
Jean
that's
Stone.
really. Some of those are really.
I know. Some of them were completely. Eric Marlon Bishop for Jamie Foxx.
What?
Whoopi Goldberg got hers because she said that when she was starting out that you don't have a lot, when she was in theatre, apparently she said this in an interview, you don't have a lot of time to like go to the bathroom and be on your own. So she would just like, if you have any gas, you just got to let it out. So people would be like, you're like a whoopee cushion. And then it starts.
To give yourself, I think Whoopi Goldberg is a great name.
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
to give yourself the name Whoopi,
I know.
and then Goldberg to just
I
make
know.
it up, which is like a sort of
But
a
also-
Jewish name.
But Mark Sinclair for Vin Diesel.
What?
I know.
And that's funny because he was like action star. Like you thought, of course, Vin Diesel's not a real name.
Yeah, of course Vin
And he
Diesel.
does a series called Fast and Furious,
Yeah,
and his
I know.
last name is Diesel. It's like calling yourself like
Peter Petrol.
Yeah, like Michael Petroleum.
Anyway, that round.
Amazing.
Very interesting.
Love that.
Okay.
I got what, like 2 or 3 maybe?
I think it was more of
What
a
was Tom Cruise's on again?
Thomas Mapother IV.
Mapother the Fourth.
I know, right?
Because like, isn't it so lame that like I'm an actor, my last name is going to be Cruise?
I know.
It's just so uncool.
But that's more.
It's like
the
being
interesting one is where to like. So Meg Ryan's is Margaret Mary Emily Ann. So you've got like Anne for Ryan, Mary Ann, Mary Ryan. It's all in that. And then the Julianne Moore one. Her name is literally Julie.
Yeah, that I could see.
And yeah.
It's just like you get the Incredibles theory music. Da, 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 da. They're just like assembling the names. That was brilliant.
Thank
Love
you
that.
very much. Our next game is this. Okay.
Oh God, everyone's just faking the names.
You should be able to do this next one, okay?
Okay.
Name 10 British actors that appear in the Harry Potter franchise that aren't the main 3.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, go.
Maggie Smith, Alan Rickman, Brendan Gleeson, David Thewlis, Michael Gambon. How many have we got to get?
It's 10.
We have got Who is... Fuck. Who's the one who plays Neville?
Indeed, James. Who is the one who plays Neville?
We've got Ray Fiennes. We've got Jason Isaacs. We've got
10 seconds. 5 seconds.
What's the name? Kenneth
Time.
Branagh.
I'll take Kenneth Branagh. Did you say Jason Isaacs?
Yeah, so
Okay.
Jason Isaacs.
What isn't Timothy Spall?
Timothy Spall.
Imelda
yeah.
Staunton.
Gary Oldman.
Yep. Gary
Yeah.
Imelda Staunton.
Imelda Staunton.
Emma Thompson.
Yes.
Robbie Coltrane.
Robbie Coltrane.
Zoe Wanamaker. Miriam Margolyes.
Who's the one who's Bellatrix Lestrange?
Bellatrix. Helena Bonham Carter. Exactly.
Yeah.
But-
Very good. Nice.
So
you
you've
thought
got
I get it, but I slowed down.
because
yeah.
you could get Jim Broadbent, Bill Nye,
Yes,
the entire
yes.
roll
All the
call
teachers,
of
basically.
Yeah.
You do the teachers.
That was that. Well
Who's
done.
the one who plays Arthur Weasley? I kept getting fixated on him.
Arthur. Is it Donald Gleeson? But
No,
he's Irish.
Anyway.
Anyway.
He's the mad.
No, Brendan Gleeson. No, that's Mad Eye Moody.
Brendan Gleeson's Mad Eye.
But
Donald
Donald
is Bill. Plays Bill.
Anyway, well done for that.
Nice.
Okay, last one. James, can you name all of the MCU films that feature Nick Fury? You have 45 seconds. Go.
Okay, Captain America Civil War, Captain America 1, Captain America 2, Iron Man 2, Avengers Assemble, Avengers Age of Ultron, Avengers Infinity War. I don't think he's in Endgame. Is he in Endgame? I don't know. I'm going to say Captain Marvel. I'm going to say, is it 10? There are 10.
I haven't counted.
Incredible Hulk at the end. And then...
No, he's not in Incredible Hulk. He's just referenced.
Is he in the final?
No,
he's
that's
in post-credit?
him. That's him and Tony Stark. It's
Okay,
it's William Hurt.
Then I'll go for... What else is he in? I've done all the Captain Americas.
There's one more that you can include in a post-credit scene. 2,
Go
1.
on, what is it?
Okay, so let's just recap on that because
Yeah.
I didn't actually have an exact number, but you
Fine.
got most of them. So yes, he's in Iron Man 1. You got that.
Yeah.
He's in Iron Man 2. Did you say Thor?
No.
He's in a post-credit scene with
Yes, you're
Thor.
right.
He's in Captain America: The First Avenger. Did you
Yeah,
say that? You did
yeah.
say that. He's in The Avengers.
Yeah.
He's in Captain America: Winter Soldier. Did
Is
you
he
say
in
that?
Age of Ultron?
Let me get to that.
Yeah.
Did you say Winter Soldier?
Yes, I said Captain
Yeah.
America's 2.
He is in Age of Ultron. He turns up at the farm when they're trying to work out.
Yes, that's right.
He is in Infinity War. He gets blipped at the end.
Yeah.
He is in Captain Marvel. You're absolutely right.
He's not in Endgame, though.
He is. He's at the funeral. He's at the end. He's at the
yes,
funeral.
good
So it
shout,
does
okay.
count. And what you didn't say, he's in the post-credit scene for... it's not actually in the post-credit scene. He's in all of Far From Home.
Yes. Oh, yeah, great shout.
And it's at the end that he's revealed to be a Skrull.
Yes.
That's
He's not in Spider-Man's 1 or 2, is he?
I don't believe so, no.
Homecomings.
Nope.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the number is there, but you missed
No,
out.
he's in Far From Home.
That's what I
with
just said.
Oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah, that's what. So you got missed out 2, I'd say.
Nice.
Those are my games.
Lovely.
That was our little ending session for this
Guys,
episode.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of PULP Kitchen. We really appreciate you being here with us today, as we do every week. I hope you guys enjoy the bonus content out there. There will be a spoiler discussion of Guardians, so do go and check that out once you've seen the film. Don't forget, we post new episodes of this show every single Wednesday. I did miss last week because of work and flying in,
It's
but
fine.
we try. We try.
happens.
You guys know what's up.
And as ever, guys, please continue to support us by following us on Instagram, on TikTok, and liking and subscribing and sharing our clips and telling people about it. And we really appreciate it and spreading the word. And yeah, just look out for any bonus content we put out that James has already just mentioned, the spoiler one. But continue to be engaged with us, whether you're a pulpette or a kitchenette.
Subscribe to the YouTube, guys. Give us some love.
Yes,
go
that's
over
a big
there
one
and give
for
us
us.
a big subscribe. We're always doing fun things on our Instagram. We should,
Yeah.
we should have posted something of us at Guardians, but we just couldn't be asked.
We did. We were having a day off.
We're having a day off. But yeah, we will post whenever we get invited to fun things. And hopefully some very cool fun
Yes,
things
some
are
very
coming in
good
the
things,
future. So if
yes.
you want to keep up with where we are and what we're doing, I strongly recommend you look at our Instagram and our TikTok.
Thanks
That's
very much.
all for now. A little tease.
See you next week.
See you next week.
him.